What's going on, guys? Satsuki the Savage here, and today I'm going to be reviewing Kingdom, chapters 584 through 586. Alright, so I got a lot of videos to record today, so I'm not going to take up too much of your time. We're going to try to get through this quickly. So let's start with chapter 584. Oddly enough, after looking at these three chapters retrospectively, I think chapter 384 is my favorite out of the bunch for a couple of reasons that I'll get into. But for me, recently, I haven't felt suspense on the side of Chin. I mean, I know we have suffered losses like the loss of Mako, him being killed, and Akko being out of commission, but I never really felt like any of our trio, of course, Moten, Ouhon, and Shin, I didn't feel a sense of them being in danger until we got that chapter where we see that Ouhon was going to be put out of commission some way, somehow. But with chapter 384, we see how it's going to play out. We get to see this plan, and although it's not that complex, it's pretty simple, but it's efficient and brilliant because you have the gyou'un army who they serve as distractions to attack the Hishin unit, while gyou'un and a couple of his men move behind them and move behind the Banaji army, and they go to attack Ouhon instead of Shin. Again, it doesn't take someone with the IQ of over 2,000 to come up with a strategy, but it worked because Shin and Kyokai didn't really understand what was going on. They knew, at least Shin knew, that gyou'un wasn't moving to attack them, but he still didn't see what was under his sleeve. And speaking of Shin, that was something else I liked in the chapter. Seeing that look on Shin's face was very reminiscent of Dukyo. It's almost as if they see something beyond the battlefield. Not necessarily the view of a great general, but of course the instincts kicking in. Now with the whole Ouhon ordeal with him being slumped in chapter 586, will Shin and his instincts kick in and save Ouhon and the rest of the crew? That remains to be seen. This is also the same chapter where we're introduced to the 10 Spears, gyou'un's elite force, and I really love that in the chapter because you had more people to fear other than just gyou'un, and they were pretty effective in chapter 585, but not to the degree I would like because we'll talk about that. And the absolute best part of chapter 584 was Kyokai talking the big shit. She said, yo, if gyou'un wants to come over here, let him come. Clear a path for this motherfucker so I can foderize him. Get him on the ground and then it's over. That's the thing with Kyokai. It's so easy to forget how strong she really is. If you have your feet to the ground and you're fighting Kyokai, you're pretty much screwed. I don't know. I just really like that part in the chapter because it's like Kyokai is re-establishing her dominance. Now moving on to chapter 585. This chapter was my least favorite out of the bunch. Now I think all three chapters are good to great, but again, this chapter for me compared to the other two, didn't like it that much. Now, the reason being, although we see the 10 Spears in action, putting in work, when it came to Ouhon, then them being 10 Spears, them being the elite force of gyou'un, kind of seemed obsolete. It seemed irrelevant because Ouhon was fending off not only 3 of the 10 Spears, but gyou'un himself. I'm sorry, that should have never happened. 3 Spears and gyou'un himself, there's no way Ouhon should have been fending them all off. Yeah, he was getting hurt and he was kind of getting scraped and nicked, but nah, I don't think that should have happened. I think Hara should have just had Ouhon surrounded by 3 of them and have Kanjo come in there and save him and have the whole ordeal where gyou'un at the very last page is about to strike Kanjo and we had the cliffhanger. I don't think Ouhon should have been fending off 4v1, alright? And something that I feel was overshadowed in chapter 585 is the fact that Banyo is in serious danger. Chogaryu pulled up on him and was like, yo, thou shalt not pass. Halt, motherfucker. He's like, yo, you ain't getting the Ouhon, bruh. He just stopped him. So Banyo should be in danger the same way that Kanjo is in danger. Now, I don't really think that Banyo is in danger because that would kind of require Hara to off-screen death him, and I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, I just feel like Hara will have to off-screen him because are we really going to get a fight with Chogaryu and Banyo? I seriously doubt it. And with the action that we're getting now with, you know, Ouhon being knocked down and Kanjo also being hurt, I don't think we're going to be focusing on Chogaryu and Banyo, but that's pretty significant, and I don't really think many people have been talking about that. And lastly, we move on to chapter 586. So coming off that cliffhanger, Kanjo got fucked up by gyou'un, and it took one swing. Kanjo's spear was broken. I think he uses a spear. I may be wrong. Whatever. His weapon was broken, and he was on the ground. Now, he wasn't out of commission, but he is pretty hurt. And that is when we have Ouhon versus gyou'un, and that is when Ouhon, the young master, became Ouhon, the slump god. Ouhon got his ass slept in this chapter. He was taking a nap. He was asleep. Like, I know all the Ouhon haters, they just love this chapter. They're probably like, they probably got their lotion nutted everywhere, probably saved the Ouhon panel, probably are gonna get that shit printed, hang it up on the wall. This was a significant W for the Ouhon haters. Now, talking more about this whole Ouhon versus gyou'un thing. Ouhon should have never gone back for Kanjo. That was a bad moment for him. Although it was good character growth because that makes Ouhon a more likable person, it wasn't all too smart because there's so much riding on this battle right now, and you have to have casualties and sacrifices to further advance. That's just how war goes. You can't save everybody on the battlefield, and I know Ouhon knows this, yet he still charged in at gyou'un and severely underestimated him. There are 3 reasons why I think Ouhon should have never tried to fight gyou'un one-on-one after escaping. The first reason being, Ouhon is malnourished right now. He hasn't had a decent amount of rations for a long ass time. So he is low on energy, weak, and he's already been in a fight with a 10 spear, so he's already been battered from that fight. And then you try to go in and fight gyou'un one-on-one, that isn't going to work. Now, for the second reason, I'm going to read a tweet from my man Core Pop because I think he perfectly said why Ouhon should have never tried to engage in his duel with gyou'un. The tweet reads as follows. Respect to Ouhon saving Kanjo, but he should have retreated right after. The fact he got too cocky and thought gyou'un would be the same as Earl Shi is a great learning lesson for him. Earl Shi did not have the will to live, while gyou'un has the determination to live and win. Perfectly stated in that tweet, gyou'un is not Earl Shi. If you remember the fight with Earl Shi and Ouhon, Earl Shi left himself open to attack. He left himself vulnerable. That is something gyou'un does not do, alright? gyou'un wants to win this. Earl Shi, he really did not give a fuck if he lived or died. So I think Ouhon's mindset should have never been, because I beat Earl Shi, I should beat gyou'un as well. No, because these are 2 completely different people, and their mindset, their determination is on a completely different level. The last reason why I think Ouhon should have never partaken in this duel with gyou'un is the fact that gyou'un is a glaive user and not a spear user. Now, this may seem like a petty reason, but Ouhon beating Earl Shi was also due to the fact that they were both spear users. So Ouhon is kind of familiar with the weapon, the techniques that Earl Shi is using, but with gyou'un is much different since he's using the glaive and he's just swinging it with pure power. Like, Ouhon is more adept with finesse type of moves, you know, getting into the nooks and crannies and like striking at the perfect points. Not really powerhouses like Shin, gyou'un, Rinpa, people like that. Now, Ouhon, since he got slumped, he is out of commission, although he is still breathing. And that is another complaint I have, is the fact that these Zao people aren't taking these fuckers out when they knock them down. Alright, I know Ouhon wasn't going to die, but still, this is like the third time we've seen this happen. We've seen it with the whole Heki situation where he got knocked down and he didn't fucking die. He just came back like the cockroach he is, and he came in with the... I don't even want to talk about that. Alright, and then it happened in this chapter with Kanjo. He got knocked down, but he wasn't killed. And then it happened again with Ouhon, knocked down, but wasn't killed. Alright, Zao, go for the kill. Finish him. But getting back to my point, with Ouhon out of it, with Kanjo having to save Ouhon, with Banyo being checkmated by Chogaryu, the only hope is the man himself, Shin. He has to lead them to victory. And although everybody's talking about Shin, and I'm pretty sure Shin is going to get his rematch with gyou'un, and he's going to get the head of gyou'un. No homo, because that sounded really wrong coming out. But although we have the whole thing with Shin being like he has to take the mantle, I really hope to see something from Kyoka. Alright? Because she can slay a general just as easy as Ouhon can. So will we have like a match with Kyokai and Chogaryu? Honestly, I doubt it, but I would love to see it. I would love to see Kyokai take out a general in this arc. Hara, make it happen. Alright, but that is pretty much all I had to say with these 3 chapters. Like I said before, I thought all 3 of these chapters were good to great. I like chapter 584 the best. But guys, that is it for this video. If you enjoyed this video, like, comment, subscribe. Satsuki the Savage here. Out. Fuck. I'm about to give y'all my best Ouhon impersonation.